Hi everyone, Katarina from Bloom and Passion here. Thank you so much for watching my video today. I'm going to share how I made this absolutely stunning mini album. Isn't it cute? Now, I made mini albums loads of times in the past, but I always used chipboard as the cover. This time I didn't want to do that. This time I was looking to make something different, and because I was making 9 of these for my kids' teachers as gifts, I was looking for an easier but still beautiful solution. I came across a channel, it's Polly's Paper Studio on YouTube, and she makes beautiful mini albums and not using chipboard as the cover. So I thought I'll give it a go, and I think it's beautiful. It is really sturdy, it is quite heavyweight. Let me show you what's inside it. Okay, so for the front cover, I really kept it simple. I decorated it. Oh, the papers that I used are digital papers. I will share the link below. You can buy the whole set of papers and frames, letters, floral arrangements and all different things, or you can buy them separately as well. I think they are beautiful papers and I really wanted to use them for this. Okay, so that's what I used in here. The gingham paper is not from the set. I just had that on my laptop and I thought it matched the colors, so I went with that. I die cut these flag shapes and I put them up on and I put a little bit of a chipboard behind it to give it a bit of a dimension. I made these flowers using my own templates, which I will again share the templates below, and just die cut some of this foliage and use some little charms. On this one I used a heart and a leaf and a little butterfly. These butterflies are actually brads. Oh, here they are. All I did, I cut off these ends of it and just glued it onto it. I think it looks beautiful. So I kept the decoration on the front quite nice and simple, yet I think it's still really beautiful. The doily that I used is just a doily from my stash, and I cut a bit of it off. And I just cut some of it off. I glued it onto the edge of the paper in there. I think it looks absolutely stunning. Now, as I mentioned, it's measures 7 by 6 inches and it's 1 inch in depth. Okay, so this is like a trifold album. Okay, so when I open up the first page, this opens up a little bit. This is perfect for journaling, adding photographs. You can add smaller ones, lots of them, or one big one as you wish. On this page there's a pocket with a little booklet inside it. It can act as a top folding booklet or a side folding one, whichever someone prefers. This arrangement is again from that exact same paper pad. Or the collection actually that I bought. Okay, so once you open it this way, there's again mirrors. It actually mirrors the other page. So again, lots of room for photographs, for a little bit of journaling, and also in here. Okay. So once I open this up, there's again another lovely beautiful page. You can add photographs to this, you can journal in there, and on the bottom part it has a deeper pocket in here. This is 1/4 of an inch of depth to it, so I added some more photo mats and a little booklet in here. Now this booklet isn't bulky at all. I printed onto the paper itself as opposed to this one where I glued this top bit onto the booklet. So this one is a bit bulkier than this here. I wanted to keep it nice and simple because once you add the photographs and whatnot onto these, you don't want it to get too bulky and then you won't be able to close your album. So the flip sides are white. Again, loads of room for writing, journaling or pictures, whichever one prefers. Again, same with the booklet. Lots of room for storing little memories. Okay, so in here I just printed Hello Summer, and I took one of those frames that came with the collection, and again I just printed Memories. Summer has a flavor like no other. One of those little, and again, one of those little frames from the collection. So I think it's an absolutely beautiful album. The back side I just printed again navy blue gingham paper, and I think this looks absolutely stunning. So I've added navy blue ribbon to match the collection of the papers, and it's quite easy to make. If you're not making 9 of them, it can be quite quick too. So let me show you how I made this one. Okay, so to make the album, for the cover, first of all, we will need 2 pieces of cardstock that measures 11 3/4 by 7 inches. Okay, so mine is 11 3/4 because I used A4 size of paper, but this is easy to adjust from any sizes at all. It will all make sense in a wee while. So for the first piece of paper, I'm going to score down at 6 inches and 7 inches. And for the second one, I'm going to score down at 6 inches and 6 3/4. Now, this will be glued together like so, okay? So with this, I created now a 6-inch for the front, a 6-inch one in the middle that is going to fold in the inside, and what I want to make is to create a 6-inch from these two back pieces. Okay, the easiest I find it to do is line up with either a grid on the mat or a ruler, which I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this second score line, okay, the 7-inch score line, and line it up with the 0. Hold it in place so it doesn't move. And now I'm going to take this on the shorter flap, the first line beside the shorter flap, okay? And I'm going to line this up at 6 inches, like so. Make sure it's all nice and square. I think that looks good. Now I'm going to take a pencil and just add the little line where this one ends, okay? This shows me how far do I have to go with my glue. And I just add my Collard glue in here. Again, this one is going to make it nice and strong once fully dry. Okay, going to line it all up. Make sure it's lined up nice and straight. And I just pushed it up against that pencil line. You can rub the dot if you wish, but we're not going to see it because we are going to add decorative paper on top of this, so it won't show at all when we are finished, once we are finished with this. So this is it, the base of the album is done. What I'm going to do next is 2 pieces of cardstock that measure 4.5 by 7 inches. On the 4.5 inch side, I just scored down at 1/2 inch on both of them. And I fold and burnish those score lines. And what I like to do is to remove a little bit from these tabs. Oops. So it's not bulking up and not hanging over the edge of the album. I'm adding a bit of glue just onto this tab. And I'm going to glue it to the edge of the page. This glue is quite slow drying, so it gives me plenty of time to line this up perfectly. And I'm just going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. This is quite long, so I have to only show some of it on the camera at any given time. Now I need another piece of cardstock, and this one is 6 inches by 7 3/4. On the 7 3/4 side, I scored it down at 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inches. Okay, so I'm going to fold and burnish both those core lines in here. And now again I'm going to remove a little bit just of the 1/2 inch tab, not that 1/4 inch, just this last bit of the page here. Okay, so now I'm going to add my glue, again just on the 1/2 inch tab. Don't want it to start oozing over. And now I'm going to line this up again between these two score lines in the middle of the album on the 6 inch page that we just created by overlapping those two short flaps. Okay, that looks okay to me. Open it carefully and I'm just spreading the glue out to make sure it doesn't move again. And this way I have created this 1/4 inch flap in here. This will allow me to have plenty room for the pocket that is going on the bottom of that page to hold all those little booklets and photo mats. So I think that looks all right. Here we go. And now the rest is really down to decorating. So from here, so I'm going to decorate it exactly the same way I did with the one that I already shared with you. So this one in here will say Hello Summer. And on the flip side, I'm just adding a plain pinkish, or one that matches the color of the flowers. Again, the one I printed this one out as I was looking for a paper that matched the color of the lightest flower in the collection. I couldn't find anything other than the gingham that I already used on other pages. So what I did, let me just grab one. So what I did, I took one of the papers that came in the collection, and in this flower I took a little bit of it out and I enlarged it onto a big A4 size, and I printed them out. And this is actually a petal of the flower just enlarged, but I think it's so beautiful. It gives it a bit of a texture, yet it's not too dark, so you can still journal on it. You can add photos if you wish, but definitely it would be very easy to see if you decided to write something on it. So I think it's fantastic. Making the first one, I was thinking of adding like a darker one, the blue or the burgundy, a navy even, or the burgundy color, but I think it made it quite too dark. So I really am glad that I chose to go with this lighter color as the complementary pages. That's it done. Now I'm going to add, oh, and I don't think I mentioned, these mats measure 6 3/4 by 3 3/4. Okay, all 4 mats that I just glued down. The next ones, these ones in here, measure 5 3/4 by 6 3/4. Now for the middle bit, again this will measure exactly the same as the ones with the flowers, 5 3/4 by 6 3/4. Now again, it is exactly the same thing I did with the paper as I described in here, only added a polka dot layer on top of it. I think it adds a bit of a cuteness. So I'm going to glue perfect. And again, I printed out a beautiful piece of paper to go in there. I chose this absolutely beautiful frame from the collection, and this one again measures exactly the same, 5 3/4 by 6 3/4. So a bit of glue used on it, but no problem, because this glue is amazing. I really love this stuff. It just easily rubs away, and if it doesn't, I can always just use my magic eraser and get rid of all the residue, and that's it, perfectly clean. Okay, so now I still have a piece of decorative paper to go on this side, and for this one I chose the gingham paper. So at this point I just keep checking it's nice and square. Before I add the pockets, I always do this, because you see how this opens out a bit. So what I can do now, still open this one up, close this in, and go over with the bone folder, because once I have added my pocket and the inside, I won't be able to do this. So I just go over these core lines. A bit of a glue is out again. Okay. I tend to add too much glue, and then I end up having to tidy it all up. Anyone else like that? Well, I suppose it's better to add more. I'll just use a bit of rubbing alcohol to clean that glue up. Now, and now it's sitting all nice and square. Now I'm going to add that pocket in here, and this pocket, let me find it. So the cardstock that I needed for this pocket measures 7 1/4 by 3 1/2 inches, and I scored it on 3 sides, on 2 of the longer sides and on 1 of the shorter sides. I scored it at 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. Again, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and again on the long side, or on the short side as well. Now I'm going to fold and burnish those core lines. And I already added my decorative paper onto the front. It's, and this one measures 5 1/2 by 2 1/2 inches. Now, what I'm going to do next is to remove these 4 little squares and rectangles from the corner. Okay, so I'm only going to, like so. So what I removed is square, a smaller square, and 2 of those rectangles, and I'm going to remove the whole corner on this side as well. Now this is how I will glue it onto the page, but just to help me keep it nice and square, I like to attach the tabs to each other. So I'm just adding a bit of glue on these 2 ends, and I fold this over, hold it in place for a little while, just until it grabs on. This is a quick grab glue, so it shouldn't take too long. Add a bit of a pressure from underneath to make sure it doesn't come apart. So now I have this little pocket to go in the middle of the album. And I'm just going to add the same quick grab glue. This one is the Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue. I love this one. It really goes fast. It gives me a very, very quick bond. And it dries nice and clear and really strong. So I'm just lining it up with the bottom of the decorative paper and on the sides as well, making sure it's nice and square. I'm going to grab my bone folder and just going to go over those tabs, spreading the glue out perfectly to make sure it sticks. Not yet. Here we go. That looks good. Now I have another pocket to go, and that one goes onto this page in here. And that pocket is a flat pocket. It's not a, it doesn't have that 1/4 of an inch of a depth. It's just dime flat. So for this one I used a piece of cardstock that measures 3 1/4 by 6 3/4, and I scored down at 1/2 an inch on 2 sides on the long side and at 1/2 an inch on one side of the shorter side. Again, I'm going to remove these squares from the corner on both sides. Just get rid of this. And I already added my decorative paper on the front. That again measures the same as the other one, 2 1/2 by 5 1/2 inches. Now again, I'm going to add a bit of a glue just in the corner to make sure the tab grabs onto the other one, like so. No, not yet. More glue. Ah, doesn't want to play ball. What's going on? Alright, so now I'm just going to add glue all around this. And I'm going to line this up, make sure I'm not going on the top of the page. It has happened before. Okay, so here we go. Just smoothing it down nice and strong, adding a bit of a pressure in there. Now I can turn this around to the other side, open this up, and just add a bit of a pressure from this end as well. Okay, so that looks good. Now, okay, so next I will need 2 pieces of cardstock that measures 6 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch, and 2 that measure 6 3/4 by 1/2 an inch. And this is just to line the spine of the little book. It will just add a lot of strength and stability to it, and also looks lovely. So this cardstock that I'm using is again nice heavyweight cardstock. I think this is like 270 GSM, so on top of the 300 GSM which I used for the cover of the book. And I'm going to add the same in the middle as well, so this will be really nice and sturdy. And again, this navy color just matches the flowers in the paper collection, and I think it's nice to have them matching. And on the other side, where the spine is a bit narrower, only 3/4 of an inch, I'm going to add the 1/2 inch white strips. Now we are going to decorate the front and the back of our book, but before I do that, I will open it up so the front and the back are lying here beside each other, like so. Before I add any decorative papers on this, I want to add some ribbon. Okay, so I'm just going to use a bit of tape, and you can eyeball this, I normally do, but it's in the middle of the page, which would be 3 1/2 inches roughly in here. I just add a bit of a tape and in here. Now the ribbon that I'm using is this navy colored, and this is roughly about 40 inches in length. Okay, so I'm going to find the halfway point, which is in around there, and I'm going to line the halfway point up with this 1 inch of the spine. I'm just going to run the ribbon over this. I'm just going to run the ribbon over it, just like so. Now this here on this side is the front of our book. I don't think it's very straight. Just let me see. That looks better. Now this is the front of our book. To decorate the front, I already prepared the papers. So the black bit measures same as the decorative papers inside, 6 3/4 by 5 3/4. The floral paper measures 5.5 by 6.5. Sorry, 5.5 by 6.5, and the smaller one, black, measures. So this is what I'm going to glue onto the front page, but this time I added a bit of a tape just because of the ribbon. I want a bit of a double-sided tape to go over the ribbon, so I'm just going to remove parts of this. Oopsie. And I'm going to add some more of this coral glue right there. So I'm lining it up so there's around an equal border on all 4 sides. Like so. Now I can press it down and I can remove the remainder of these backings. Seriously, this has to happen when I'm recording a video. Right. So I had to perform a little surgery in there, but that's it, all fixed. And for the back page, I'm again using the same size of decorative paper again, 5 3/4 by 6 3/4, and I'm just going to do exactly the same. Now I'm going to just talk you through of the booklets that I already prepared. Okay, so the booklet for this one is a 10 by 5 inches of cardstock, cut down, scored down, sorry, in the middle at 5 inches, burnished the fold line, and the decorative paper on the top measures 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. Now this can be used as a side folding or at a folding booklet. Well, and again, the pocket can hold more than that, so if you have any extra photographs, you can always add them to them. Okay, so for the deeper pocket, I used a photo mat. That is just, I printed out the same paper that I used on the back side of the album, and this one measures 5 1/4 by 6 1/4, and I didn't add any matting to this because I don't want it to get too bulky. So this one I printed on a heavyweight 300 GSM cardstock, so it's quite sturdy. Once you add photographs to it, it will be really heavy. And the same one with the one that I cut out with a tag die that I have, it is this set here from Surprise Creations. It was the bigger one that I used for this one. And again, I didn't add any hole or anything. I didn't want to over decorate it. I think the paper speaks for itself, so I'm just going to put it in there. and the little booklet. Both were 300 GSM and this one was 250 GSM, so I just printed it out onto this paper. I didn't add any matting on this either, because once you add photographs or journaling, this will be quite heavy again. And also, depending on how much you add it to those photo mats, the pocket might be able to hold a little bit more again. So now I'm on to the fun bit, decorating the front. Okay, so I'm using these flags that I cut out with a nesting die set. I cut out 2 different sizes, one of the black to match the frame on the front of the album, and the smaller one printed out exactly how I already explained in there. So first of all, however, I'm going to take this bit of a dolly that I already cut down that bit off, and I'm just going to glue it onto here. To do that, I'm just adding a little bit of a glue just onto the edge in here that is going to be lined up with the edge of the paper, and a little bit of a glue in there, and that's all it really needs. I got these doilies years and years ago, and I always keep forgetting to use them. I think the last time I used them was for mini albums / journals last year, like this time last year. So yeah, it's nice to remember and use them, because they add, I think they are beautiful additions. So I added a bit of a chipboard onto the back of these flags, and now I'm adding hot glue to it. The chipboard will allow for a bit of a dimension in there, which I think looks fantastic. So I'm just going to open this so the front bit is flat. And what I'm going to decorate with is just the flowers that I already made, red, pink and blue. Well, red, I used red ink, but I used it on wet paper, and once it dries it goes a bit pink. That's why I added a little bit of an extra red on the edges. I think it looks lovely. I didn't want to go with real dark colors for the flowers. I think I prefer them just softer. To use these different types of foliage cut out from exactly of the same shade of green. Yes, I'm just going to split this into 2, and these ones will go in here. So I'm just going to add a bit of hot glue to hold that down, and I'm going to add this bit on top, a bit of a glue at the back of this flower. I love the lovely glittery middle in them. Okay, and this one here, I'm again going to split the branches into smaller pieces like this, and I'm just going to add them here and there with the blue flower. The glue strength from these glue sticks is insane. And this last one, I'm just going to add on this end in here. And again, I'm going to mirror this bit over to this side. Just a bit of a glue. For speed and or just really just for speed, I like to use the hot glue when I'm putting embellishments onto cards or album fronts like this here, but you don't have to use hot glue. Not everyone likes to use hot glue. I do tend to burn myself quite a bit. Well, it's the perks of crafting, isn't it? So I also have these berry-like embellishments, I guess. I thought they looked a bit like the ones on the paper in there, so that's why I decided to add them. They came, I think I got them in the range on like this here, so I just cut off 3 of the ends and I glued them together. Now I'm going to add a bit of a glue onto the middle of it, or onto the end, sorry, and push them in here, and they will poke out nicely just from there. Okay, so now next I'm going to take my cute little charms. Oh, I love this heart one, it's just so beautiful, and a leaf. This one is a rose gold one. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of glue in here, just a little tiny dot, not too much in here. Well, it's a bit more than I intended to, but hey, it'll work fine. So I'm just pressing down. Now be careful when doing that because you can burn yourself. I'm used to burning myself, it doesn't bother me. But yeah, it can get quite sore, so don't do that if you don't feel too confident. Okay, so I had a little butterfly and now I don't know where it went, so I'm just going to grab another one and I'm just going to remove the little tabs and flatten the remaining down like so. I'm going to add some glue in the middle of it and put it over on top of the little jute strings, I suppose, that I used there to attach the embellishments with. So that's it. I think it's beautiful. I was thinking about adding little gemstones or pearls, but then I decided against. I think it has a lot already on that I absolutely love and adore, and I didn't want to over decorate it. I like to over decorate my cards, but with this little album I was just very satisfied and happy with the way it turned out, just the way it is. Okay, so let me walk you through again. This is the journaling bit, and then our pocket, okay, with the little booklet, a 5 by 5 inch booklet, and then the other side of it, okay, and our top folding page with the pocket inside, again with the little booklet, and the photo mats. I think this turned out so amazing. I think it would make a beautiful present for any occasion, really. You can personalize this, customize it for any way, with colors, with papers, with decorations on the front. This would make a beautiful present for any occasion, really. Parties or celebrations, to keep those little memories and photographs inside and to keep them forever. I really hope you like this tutorial, and if you did, please give me the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I have some amazing more tutorials coming up, so until the next time, bye!